What is happening, guys? My name is Jamie. Today we are doing our first ever album review of 2021. And holy shit, are we ready for a great year of metal, the great year of rock as well. We will also be reviewing some rock albums later on this year, reviewing classic albums, but today we're reviewing an album called Of Sleep and Death by the band Transilvania. So, black metal was absolutely fantastic last year. We had some amazing bands such as Cognitum, Spectral Law. We also had Odraza. We had Achilles. We also had some and Oceans. We had just an amazing variety of bands, and it seems like in 2021 the black metal bands continue their trend because there has been a lot of stellar black metal albums this year already. So how did Of Sleep and Death compare to the other black metal albums last year? Well, let's get to the nitty-gritty part. I understand what they were doing. Transilvania are indeed an Austrian black metal band, and they released their album independently. So I was pretty excited listening to this album. The amazing hype from Decibel as well, saying this was going to be a must-hear black metal album for 2021. Although I tend to disagree with that statement, I'll tell you why I disagree with this statement. It's because Transilvania seemed to run out of ideas throughout this album. Like, they put everything in one basket, and the first half of the album is fucking solid, but the second half of the album, it's like a limp dick. It's incredibly boring, the second half of the album, and it's really all the sounds you have heard before. Being brutally honest, that this LP didn't live up to my expectations. I thought this LP was going to be a little bit more interesting, a little bit more diverse in what they were doing, but this is straightforward generic black metal in my opinion. Let's talk about the production. Production, on the other hand, is actually pretty good. Do love the tone of the snare, really enjoy their raw guitar riffs throughout this project. And the vocals are very demonic. The main star on this album are the vocals. The vocals are incredibly demonic, and it feels like a goblin is fucking screaming in your ear at times. So there are some hit and miss moments on this album. There are some gothic elements throughout, and there are some also heavy metal elements, some black and thrash elements as well, and they certainly mix a lot of genres within this. So Opus Morbi kicks off, and this is an overall gothic feeling start, and it builds up to be quite an aggressive song. I do really enjoy the overall guitar riffs and the really nice progression that leads on to some viscerous, cavernous vocals. And this is one of the best songs off the album. It leads on to track 2, I can't pronounce the name, but this is a much more slower, energetic song. But I do love the slow-paced moments, at times incorporating those strong atmospheric vibes. And what is really interesting is that this album does go strength by strength, where we get Of Sleep and Death. Of Sleep and Death is the best song of the album. It really is. It's energetic, it's got a catchy fucking chorus. I really do enjoy the guitar work on this. The melodies are quite infectious. I love the midsection of the song, and it's just one hell of a time. And we get to, this is when things start to go downhill in my opinion. Lycanthropic Chant is an okay song. It's nothing really special. Of course, there are a few guitar solos now and again. You can tell they've also been inspired by heavy metal bands such as Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, especially with the guitar riffs. Hard Harvest, again, is a mediocre song. This album does drag a little bit. The songs are over repetitive, they are quite long, especially the second half of the fucking album. And this is what really put a bad taste in my mouth. The album had to be edited because some of these songs needed to be cut short, to be honest. Because some of these songs are about 7 to 8 minutes. I do love 7 to 8 minute black metal songs, but they have to have substance. And the second half of this album doesn't have any substance. Underneath Dying Stars is probably the best song of the second half. The rest seemed like all fillers. Quest for Metal, believe it or not, was physically sick after listening to the second half of this fucking album, because quite frankly, there's really no substance on the second half of the album, and this was a pretty disappointing factor. So in my opinion, this album was pretty overhyped. The instrumentals on the other hand are pretty good. Transylvania remind me of bands such as Tribulation, and there are some really nice melodies, especially the first half, which is quite infectious in tone. Like I said, Of Sleep and Death is the best song of the album. Of Sleep and Death, so damn good, Of Sleep and Death. But overall, I'm a bit torn with this album because at first I really enjoyed it. The second listen, I started to question myself, hey, this is pretty straightforward black metal. There's not really much happening within this album. Like listening to, say, Pagan's Forest, which I will be doing an album review later on this week, was much more different, was much more cohesive, and had much more substance within the music. And even Malachim as well, another black metal album I will review later on. See, all these albums had substance, and this didn't have much substance in my opinion. So for Transylvania, Of Sleep and Death, it gets a 5.5 out of 10. Guys, comment below what you thought about this album. Do you agree or disagree with my opinion? Keep discussion going in the comments section below, and I will see you in the next one.